The Promise, Part 2. That night was the last peaceful night that we had. After that, we had to come in agreement over which option would be best for us between surrogacy and adoption. We wanted surrogacy, but I thought that adoption would be less costly and would require much less of us. I know what you mean, but being there throughout the whole process would be beautiful, would it not? I'm not against adoption, but I guess I want part of us in the baby, he said, one evening when we were debating over it. I understand. It will be a long process, though. We don't even have an egg donor yet. But either way, the baby is what's important, right? I shrugged. I wish there was a way to get both what we want, he said, drifting off into his thoughts. Okay, how about this? We adopt for the first time, then go through surrogacy when we are ready for another one. And on top of that, the both of us have no experience with babies, I suggested. You make sense. You have such a brilliant mind, you know. He tapped me on the nose. To the outside world, he was this stern man who never laughed. But with me, he was so silly. People could not really believe it when they found out about us in the beginning, due to us being polar opposites. But we rubbed off on each other in a good way, and managed to maintain balance. I loved when he did little things like that. I guess affection was my love language. And my very dashing looks, I said, making a pose. No, why would you think that? He did not get a chance to say anything else, though, because I was now chasing him around our apartment. So then we started the process of adoption. The first step, of course, was finding the baby that we wanted to adopt. The counselors were very helpful in guiding us through the confusing process and explaining unfamiliar procedures to us. We wanted a younger child because we wanted to be there for all of her milestones. So then the search was on. It was difficult to find a baby though, because nearly everyone wanted newborns. But then we got a call that there was a small boy that had been abandoned by his mother. We went through all the procedures and soon we had our baby boy with us. He was 4 months old when we actually got him, and he was so small. The look on Charles's face when we held our baby boy was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. I knew right then that our baby would be the center of both our universes from that day on. We named him Jonathan Theodore, or JT for short, and JT was the most precious thing ever. But we were still going through the process. Charles suggested taking a break from work for a while, so that he could take care of JT. We wanted to be hands-on parents and be there for each milestone, thus we did not send him to daycare when he was just a few months old. It was difficult taking care of him, there was no denying it. He would sleep all day long and then wake up just when we were about to fall asleep. We would take turns giving him his milk and trying to get him to quiet down when he started in the middle of the night, which meant that we did not get any sleep at all. We did not even have a social life at that time. We were still adjusting to him. Neither of us was very good with babies, but we learned as time went on by watching a lot of baby programs and getting advice from friends who had babies. Taking care of him slowly became second nature. We started to recognize different cries that he had and what that meant, and we went through a lot of scares with him too. He had always been a small baby and was frequently at the hospital. We had been informed that he would have some problems because his mother had been a user of nicotine and various other substances. I finally got what parents went through when their baby was sick and they had no idea what was wrong. This had a negative impact on my marriage though, and we had a lot of fights. One small thing was like someone forgetting to change the baby's diaper would set us off fighting. But it was silent fighting though, because we would be too scared to wake JT up. For when he woke up, there would be hell to pay, if he did not have his milk or whatever the hell he wanted. But it was not all hell. The magical moments outweighed the crazy ones by a long shot. When he started smiling at us and laughing at the stories that we told him, my heart nearly melted. He absolutely loved it when someone talked to him and told him stories. Then he would make these cute little sounds like he was agreeing. On good days when he started crawling, we would dress up in matching outfits and go into town and show him the sights, even if he would not remember it. He absolutely loved it when we took him out. He had this thing of making Charles fetch him a toy and then he would throw it as soon as Charles retrieved it. He would do it all over again. It was very entertaining to watch him getting wound up by our little bundle of joy. I swear this child learned how to be annoying from you, he said as he retrieved the toy that JT had thrown out of his pram once again. Touché, I laughed as I watched them interact. Those moments brought me the most peace and contentment I ever knew was possible. I would never give up the two people I loved in the world for anything. We got so caught up in parenting that we did not even have the time with each other anymore. The only conversations we would have were related to JT and how he was coping at work. I started to miss having him all to myself again. I loved our boy, but I also needed some romantic time alone with Charles. While I was thinking of this in the office, I remembered that our wedding anniversary was soon, and we had not planned anything for it yet. I made a few calls and managed to get a babysitter for that day. Then I made a reservation at our favorite restaurant. I hoped that Charles would agree to leave JT for a single night. He had been practically attached to him from the day that he came into our lives, and he got uncomfortable when he was not around. But I had faith in my ability to persuade him. "Honey, I'm home," I said as I came through the door. I was greeted by a sight that brought tears to my eyes. Our baby had been trying to stand for a few days now, but not making any progress in the walking department. But on that day, he took a few wobbly steps toward me before falling. It was cuteness overload. I quickly rushed to help him get up, but Charles was there before me. "I sent you a video, but it did not go through. He took his first steps this afternoon. He is still a bit wobbly, but I think he will get the hang of it," he smiled as he kissed me. "So proud of him, so clever like his dad," I gushed over him. "Thank you," Charles smiled smugly. "Tell Dad I did not mean him, won't you, Jonathan?" I said. Brandon, ever so humble. "Jonathan, be sure to show Dad how good you have gotten with your food art." He chuckled as he made his way to the kitchen. "Don't tell me he covered you in porridge again. You're too soft with him, and he knows it. That's why he always does that to you." "Not only did he do that, he has such sticky fingers, he broke the remote," Charles shouted from the kitchen. "Oh no, you've been a naughty boy, have you not?" I laughed. "Dada," JT said as he shot me a toothless grin. "Oh, my little rebel." He had us wrapped around his little finger. "Okay, I have just made his milk, then I should get him to sleep. I ordered some food for us and it should be arriving soon," Charles said. I wonder what good deed I had committed in my life to get the perfect husband. He did so much for me and Jonathan and sacrificed a lot for us, which is why he deserved a break. Our anniversary is coming up soon. I brought up the subject during dinner. Our baby had fallen asleep and we were having some takeaways while having a small talk. "Wow, I've not been looking at the dates lately. Maybe the three of us can go to a theme park?" he suggested. "Actually, I've been thinking of getting a babysitter for him," I started. I saw the look of panic that he tried so hard to hide when I mentioned getting a babysitter. "Before you say anything, he has not been sick for a while and it will only be one day. We could go to the spa, go shopping, and maybe have some dinner later. It's just a rough idea. You can add or remove some ideas if you do not agree with him," I continued. "But he could get sick. What if the sitter does not understand what he wants? He's used to me. I do not think that he will manage a whole day," he started, talking a million words per minute. "Do not worry too much. I will arrange a good sitter. When was the last time that it was just the two of us? I miss you," I pouted. "Fine, but if anything goes wrong with him, we'll come home immediately, okay?" He raised an eyebrow. He made his way to the couch and I followed him. "Yes, sir," I grinned, which was all I could do to prevent myself from jumping up and down. It had been so long since we had a date night that I felt as if it was our first ever date. "Oh, and can we pass by a bookshop? I have read and reread all the ones that I have," he said. "Of course," I said as I gave him a small peck, but he pulled me closer to him and deepened the kiss, which was a very pleasant surprise because we barely got time to ourselves anymore. I kissed him up and down his neck and he groaned, flipping me so that I was beneath him on our couch. "Quickie?" he asked. "Yes, please," I grinned as it pretty much ripped his shirt off him. We did not waste time in sweet foreplay, though both of us knew that our little one could wake up at any time. It was thrilling and rushed, but it sure did wonders for the pent-up sexual frustration that we had both been experiencing. We climaxed together in a wave of passion that left both of us breathless. "I missed that," he said. "And you call me an addict," I chuckled. And then we heard the most dreaded sound in the world. Jonathan was screaming his lungs out. Charles made to get up, but I stopped him. "I'll get him. You can just sort out the living room," I gestured to the cushions that were strewn all over. He nodded and I ran to give JT his bottle. I counted down the days till our anniversary, and soon enough, the day came. I woke Charles up by singing a little song I had just made up in the spur of the moment, and as usual, he was a buzzkill and told me to keep it down, so I whispered it. "Gosh, you are such a baby," he screamed into his pillow. I laughed at him all the way to the bathroom to freshen up. I decided to let him sleep for a few extra minutes since he was always working so hard. JT woke up and I took him with me. I settled him in his pram and put some cartoons for him while I made us some food to eat. After I had finished cooking, I brought Charles breakfast in bed. "You are so sweet. I could get used to this," he grinned. "But you could have said that this morning when I woke you up with an original Brandon song," I pouted. "Ahem. And you singing." "Oh, you look very nice today. Did you get a new haircut?" He saved himself. We could literally go all day bickering because we were that kind of couple, but I was in a good mood, so I chose peace instead. "Have some food, then get ready. The babysitter will be here soon," I smiled. "Okay, my love. And thank you for doing this for me. You never fail to make me feel special," he said. I could not help smiling at his words. He still got me with his sweet nothings every single time. Later that morning, we were both ready to go out for our day of fun, and JT had settled in well with the babysitter. I was relieved because that helped Charles to stop stressing about him for a little while. We started with massages at a nearby spa, which we both needed. It was very relaxing for the both of us, and we finally got a chance to speak about anything other than Jonathan. It was so nice to reminisce about our past and how we met. Our journey had been a long and treacherous one, but we had made it. That was definitely a reason for us to celebrate, and we did. We were a bit naughty and had some champagne at the spa. We barely drank anymore ever since we had a baby. After that, we went to the bookstore, Charles' favorite place in the world. He always got immersed in looking through the books whenever we went together, so I did what I usually did. I left him to his own devices and went shopping. Then after we had both gotten what we needed, we met up and went for an evening meal at the restaurant where I made a reservation. It was very beautiful, and they offered the best service, which was something that was very important to both of us. We were less tense than we had been in months, and for once, we were not fighting or bickering. He laughed at every joke that I made and was the perfect gentleman. I should have been happy that we were finally getting some alone time, but I could not help missing little Jonathan. Do you think he has eaten? Nowadays, he tends not to want his porridge, I suddenly said. I think he had eaten, and if he is not, at least he loves his milk. Why are you so concerned? He smirked. Do not look at me like that. You're supposed to be the one who's freaking out here, not me, I pouted. I know how you are feeling. Just hide it well. Sooner or later, I'm going to have to get used to leaving him for a few hours at a time, he confessed. Oh yes, you're starting to work again next month. You must be excited, I said. Not really. I'm more nervous being a dad and working at the same time, he drifted off. Do not worry, you have me. We will work it out together. We are a team, I said. Thank you, my love. You have made my dream of having a baby come true, and you have loved our son unconditionally. He squeezed my hand. We're each other's family. That's what we do for each other, I smiled. We enjoyed the rest of our meal along with dessert before we made our way home. We could not even keep our hands off each other due to the reignited passion between us. We definitely needed the day to reconnect more than I had thought. We got home at around 8 p.m. and Jonathan was already asleep. I immediately went to check up on him while Charles spoke to the babysitter. He was lying in his coat, clutching a bottle of milk and snoring softly. Are you satisfied that he's okay now? Charles suddenly said. Do not tease me, I whined. I'm not teasing you. I already told you I was also worried about him. He squeezed my shoulder. I wish that he would stay a baby forever, oblivious to how ugly the world can be, I sighed. They grow up fast. We just have to appreciate the moments that we have. He hugged me from behind. I leaned onto him and closed my eyes for a while, relaxing. Our little family was chaotic at times, but we did love each other a lot. Jonathan grew up to be a sweet little boy who was a tad bit naughty. We also went through the surrogacy process, which took a long time, but it was definitely worth it. When Jonathan was 3 years old, his little sister Alexa was born, finally completing our family. I learned to be patient with those that I loved, especially through the fights and tantrums, because at the end of the day, we were family, and we had promised to be there for each other. The end. Donate to us on Ko-fi to support our channel, link in the description. Thanks for watching, consider subscribing to become part of our Rainbow Force, and stay wholesome.